10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Melanie and I make videos about living in Copenhagen. Today is June the 8th and as you saw from the footage at the very beginning, today is the first day that Tivoli is opening after the coronavirus lockdown here in Copenhagen. Now, Tivoli is going to look a little bit different to what we're used to. However, it's brilliant to see it open and to see so many people outside. But coronavirus has really hit the tourist industry in Copenhagen badly. The government have made some rules that say that people can't stay overnight in Copenhagen or in Frederiksberg, tourists over the summer. Now that means you can stay outside of the city and come in for the day, but you can't stay here. And 2 out of every 3 tourists that come into Copenhagen are from overseas, or international tourists. So it's really hitting the tourist industry hard. So it's great today to see that Tivoli is open, but of course this is going to impact Tivoli because there aren't the tourists that we normally see coming in here. So it's a time for, as they say, for Danes to fall back in love with Tivoli. And I have to say I'm feeling pretty emotional today because watching them open up the gates here really made me feel like this was an important day for Copenhagen and an important day for Denmark, because Tivoli, I think, is one of the integral things that makes Copenhagen a really unique place. I don't think any city has anything like this. So I'm going to run through some of the new innovations, let's call them innovations, that Tivoli have introduced to make everybody feel safe while they're in the park over the summer. So I'm going to tell you what they are, and as we go around the park I'm also going to show you how this is working. It is the first day that they've been open, so you know, time will only tell, but I really feel very positive about going forward and coming to Tivoli myself with my family. Now of course social distancing is still very important. Here in Denmark the guidelines are you stay 1 metre apart from people. We're not wearing face coverings here, we've not been told to, although some people are. In the park they're going to be offering hand sanitizers around the park. I'm not sure what form that's going to take, but we'll see when we go around. They're going to have range markers, what they're called, you know, like where you have to stand away from people, whole afstand here, you know, so that making sure that people aren't too close. You can order your lunches in advance from the restaurant, so that will reduce the number of queues there. There is also going to be, through the Tivoli app, which I'll link to below, you need to register on the Tivoli app to be able to go on the ride. So they have what they're calling a digital queue. So you choose the ride you want to go on and you make a note, and then you get an alert telling you when you're near the front of the queue, and then you go to the ride. I had a chat with the lady in the information centre, and this is something that they've been thinking about bringing in quite some time ago, and obviously this has pushed this forward. You do have to use the digital queue to use the rides, and I feel that might take a little bit of the spontaneity away from it, but I think that we'll get used to it. If you don't have a smartphone, you can borrow one from the service centre at the front of Tivoli. They ask, oh, peacocks. See, birds again, birds everywhere I go. From the service centre, it's a £1,000 deposit, which is around £100, or photo ID to use that. So they're not excluding people who don't have access to smartphones. I believe you only need to have one person in your party that's using it, because you say how many people are going to go on each ride. So that's something, they call it digital queues. On their website you can go on and there is an overview page that tells you the times when they expect the park to be at its busiest. So to try and avoid those times to come into the park, maybe go, so again they're using a red, amber, green system. So you can go on and you can see which times of the day are going to be the most busy. So you can plan your trip here so that you can keep your distance and things can work out well. You can also buy your tickets, your ride tickets and your entry tickets, etc. through the app, and then you can have them on your phone. So that again alleviates the problem of having people queuing to come in. But that's the new rules. I don't think they sound too terrible. Oh, another thing, some of the people on the rides will be wearing PPE if they're like too close to them. So let's go and take a look around the park and see what it looks like today. So here we are. This is what Tivoli looks like the opening day on the 8th of June. I've just talked through some of the new rules that they have here. It is looking quiet, but then I would expect it to be quiet this time of the morning on a Monday morning. I don't know how busy it will be later in the afternoon, but it is wonderful to see Tivoli open. There are people on the rides, people around, so let's take a walk around the park. Okay, behind me you can see one of my favourite rides. I'm not about the adrenaline rush of rides in the park. And behind me there's a sign here that's telling you about the digital queue, and there's a QR code that you can scan, so if you don't already have the app and you didn't know that you need to do this, you can do it very easily and very quickly. The park is fairly quiet at the moment. There's a few sort of older people walking around. There's lots of school kids that were coming in, which you probably saw at the beginning of my video, and plenty of journalists, a lot of broadcast journalists in here doing interviews, people like myself probably doing videos for YouTube, because we really want to promote that Tivoli is open and that you can come. And for those of us who are adhering to the guidelines of the Danish government not to have any non-essential travel outside of Denmark this summer, Tivoli is somewhere you can come, you can enjoy it and fall back in love with Tivoli. I think that's what they're saying, so please do that. Dotted around the park you'll find these helpful signs, and they're also on the screens that you can see up on the lawn up there. But it's all the things that we've been being told and doing all the way through this time. So keep a safe distance, cough or sneeze into your sleeve, wash your hands often, use hand sanitizer, and restrict close contact. But what I love obviously is that they've made this with you know, Tivoli images on it, which makes it again accessible and friendly, and not feeling like you're being, you know, really not going to have a good time here. Just follow these simple guidelines and you'll be fine in the park. This is another change here. This ride is like a kiddie ride. It's called the Veteran Car, and they have up a big perspex screen which they've put these like little decorations on, and the chap who's in there who's letting people on the rides, oh, he's just taken it off, but he was wearing his PPE and he's got things on his mask, so they're trying to make it less scary for people. You know, for kids to go on rides and see people with screens over their faces can be a little bit daunting, but they've made sure that they're wearing quite cool and funky PPE. So that's this ride and some of the other changes that they've made. Well, I found a quiet spot to sit and talk to you some more. Now, you've seen the ride just now with the perspex screens and that lovely young man who showed us the PPE that he's wearing, where you can see that it's got the like a pattern along the front, which is very much in keeping with the branding of Tivoli, but also makes it seem more friendly to kids coming up. It's less scary if somebody's wearing PPE when it's there. But he also said that he only has to put it on when people are coming up to the ride, so he doesn't have to have it on all day. The other interesting thing that one of the other people working here told me is that the current capacity for Tivoli is 8,200 people. Now, she said to me that that is equivalent to a quiet day in low season. So this is really going to impact on Tivoli. So that's another reason why, if you're living in Copenhagen, come to Tivoli, come and enjoy Tivoli, and enjoy it without the queues that we normally have. But remember, you need to use that app to book in, and also to buy your tickets online and find your time in the park, so it's not too busy when you come into the park. Understand a little bit more about how the rides are going to work in Tivoli. Now, many of the rides lend themselves perfectly to social distancing, because you go in some kind of pod, some kind of cart, something like that, where you're with the people that you're with. So, for example, the Jose Anderson ride, where you're in a flying trunk, and it's 3 people maximum in the trunk. So you're not going to be forced to be with other people. They're not going to have to restrict how you're using that ride. Same as the mines, same as the roller coasters, many of the rides here, you are in distinct groupings. Now, with some of them, they used to fill up. If it was busy, they would fill you up from, like, if there were 2 of you and it was a capacity of 4, they would put 2 more people behind you. But they're not doing that now, so you will just have, like in the mine, the 4 to yourself, no matter how many of you are, up to obviously the maximum of 4. Same with the roller coasters, so they're not actually having to really actively social distance you on the ride. So the ride experiences will be the same. Once you've booked in on the ride, it will be just the same as it always was. So that shouldn't put people off actually coming and going on the rides, because they will still be as they've always been. I hope you've enjoyed this visit to Tivoli on the opening day after the coronavirus lockdowns have been relaxed a little. Tivoli did wait a little longer to open, and I think you'll agree, looking at the things that they've put into place in the park, that wait was worthwhile. They've made it so that the system is going to work and people feel much more comfortable about being in here. And also more restrictions have been lifted in Denmark, that even this week, gyms, swimming pools, outdoor activities like sporting activities, a lot of restrictions have been lifted, and we can gather in groups of a maximum of 50 rather than 10. So I think it was a prime time for Tivoli to open, with the other restrictions being relaxed a little. But I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed it, please do consider subscribing to my channel, giving me a thumbs up if you've enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing you here again. And until next time, bye for now.